Hello, folks. This is Jeff Davis with the legendary Jeff Davis Show from Central Texas, USA. And I love Mike Hanson Archives.
Okay,
Peace out,
keep
baby.
watching the classic videos right here on Hanson Archives, Waco Archives, and the original station, Mike Hanson Archives. I just wanted to show you those videos, and these videos still have to be uploaded. That's what's taking so long. We have hired somebody to do it, and we do have the equipment to do it now. So, and believe it or not, this and that is just over here at one of our offices, and all the rest of it, we have at least 10 times this over at the museum. So we are busy doing it, and if you would like to participate in helping with that, we're going to throw an address up there. She's going to throw the address up there right now. So we would appreciate that. And to help the cost of that, we are offering my book at $25. We'll sign it and send it back to you. Give us a call at 830-672-3089, and we can take your credit card and put it on the credit card if you want to do it that way. If not, you can send us a letter at 901 St. Joseph Street in Gonzales, Texas, 78629. All right. Be sure to go to our new channel, Waco Archives, with all the great interviews we've done over the last 27 years. Thanks a lot. God bless.
We're back. As we promised, we got a very special show here tonight. We have with us, and we'll get to him just a second here, a couple of Mount Carmel survivors, and we're also going to have play some footage not before seen at 9 o'clock. So if you all want to come down to ACTV and meet our guest here tonight, you're more than welcome to do that. If you're watching channel 46 on Fort Worth, Texas, we're being cable cast out of Fort Worth now as well. We're a non-copyrighted program. Feel free to use any information on this program for the viewing audience of Fort Worth. Now let me just briefly bring up our guest today. We have first over here to my far left, we have a young lady that was actually the one that brought out the tapes that Mr. Koresh asked to be played on primetime radio, Miss Catherine Madison, and to my immediate left here, Mr. Clive Doyle, who spent the whole 51 days in the Mount Carmel facility. And if you all don't mind, if you just go ahead and kind of, I guess, just give an opening statement or something before we get into some of the specifics. Catherine, or do you want to give an opening statement, or do you just want to?
Well, I can say I'm glad to be here. I'd be willing to answer any questions anyone asks. We're very anxious for people to understand the truth and understand the kind of people that were in our home at New Mount Carmel Center. And so that's about it.
How long were you consider yourself a Branch Davidian, Catherine?
Well, I was at Mount Carmel when Ben Roden and Lois Roden was there. In fact, I worked for them, and so I've been many years at Mount Carmel. It was the reason I came to Texas from Arizona.
Okay, Clive, I know you stayed the whole 51 days there. You unfortunately and sadly lost an 18-year-old daughter there in Mount Carmel on the day of the fire. If you could just give an opening statement. Or...
Well, I'm pleased to be here. We've been on the show before, and I'm glad that you invited me back. Wherever our concern is that the truth gets out to as many people as possible. We have a real concern for those that are still in prison, that are being held unjustly, having been found innocent by a jury. And if you have any questions on what took place 3.5 years ago, or what you may have some questions about what's been happening lately, we'd be glad to get into that.
Well, we're going to get into that. So let's just start from the. Now, if there's anything you all want to include, that's fine. But let's just start just briefly with some of the beliefs of the of the Branch Davidians. The time before before you became famous, so to speak. Unfortunately, famous, but.
Well, we take the Bible as our creed. We believe that the Bible is basically literal, both the Old Testament and the New Testament, going to be literally fulfilled, especially the prophecies that talk about the last days. The only thing that we do not take literal would be where the Bible uses symbolic terms, beasts and things like that, which have an interpreted meaning. Some of our basic beliefs were that the law of God is still in effect. God's people should honor that law. Many churches, of course, believe that it was nailed to the cross. We hold that it continues on to this day. We also believe that...
Well, let me just interrupt for a minute. I also believe that.
Okay.
So I assume then you all don't eat pork and shellfish?
No.
Right.
Saturday Sabbaths and the whole thing?
If God says it's unclean, we feel it's unclean.
Right.
He has a reason for...
I agree with you, and I've been following them laws for about 3 years myself. But go ahead, Clive.
Another one of our basic beliefs is the fact that many of the prophecies of the Bible talk about God intervening in the affairs of men and bringing the world as we know it basically to an end, not doing away with it by devastation, but inserting his presence into this world and beginning to set up a kingdom. It tells us that in Daniel and in Revelation that God is going to come down basically and fight against the nations that have fought against his people, eventually going to take the territory that they have usurped over the years and give it back to those that he calls his. And so that's been a major doctrine of ours for quite a number of years, since the mid-30s, that God would establish a kingdom big in the Holy Land with Jerusalem.
One thing that I happen to be a believer in up to a point, and that is that the other side of the way, the Antichrist forces will establish his kingdom, which I think has already been in place for quite a long time now. And we hear talk of this new world order that we talk about frequently on this show. And I know that I believe that you all have some feelings about that as well. This one world system that's being set up.
We've known quite a bit about the overall picture of a one world order. We may have looked at it perhaps differently, not perhaps so politically as you all, but we've looked at it from a biblical point of view, and we see beasts illustrated in Revelation that would dominate the world and cause men to receive a mark and to obey, otherwise they're going to be killed, things like that. And of course, when you try to read and study these prophecies, you run into names and places and dates and so forth that back it up in history and in the affairs that are going on in the world today.
I love my Hanson archives. Yeah! You ready to run?
Japanese. Oh, we had people from
Philippines,
Australia. We had people from England. We had people from the what's the one near Australia?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. All over the country. I mean, Canada. We had them from everywhere. And like I say, there was Japanese, Chinese, and all different races. There was Indian as well as blacks, and just about Mexicans.
They were not just members, lived together.
No.
We got along. that to me,
I'm sure you had a little bit of infighting. I mean,
No.
there was some disagreement,
There was
but
just-
I've never seen so many different kinds of people get along so well, which to me
Amazing.
indicates the Spirit of God working.
That's right.
We had something, they came to learn something, and what they came to learn and to find out was more important than all the quibbling and the squabbles and the daily little frustrations that might arise because of the situations that we lived in. They were all solved very readily and without any fistfights or anything like that. Most of the time we got along great.
You never saw the men. Or you'd expect the men to get, you know, when they would really get upset to start wanting to fight. None of that. The women, women, it's very hard for women to live together.
Yeah, and you all did. How
And
many
yet
people were
we
totally
all lived together. I think the highest count was 150.
That was during '92.
Yeah.
By the time that the ATF raided the place, I think there was something like about 130.
Where feet was? Do you know? Do you have
no,
how many
okay.
acres? There were several hundred acres.
Well, we have 77 acres out there, but the building wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a big building.
And it was
I
paid. It was
counted.
going to be paid for completely, right?
I counted
Right.
40 used. But
those
a
of
lot
us-
of those rooms had 2 and 3 and 4
Now, this
independent.
was built from church donations by people that worked outside.
First we used
donated to the
the
church.
wood from the houses that were originally there.
All
And
right,
we
sorry
bought
to
lumber
interrupt
that we
here.
had to.
Stay tuned right here on these channels for more classics from Mike Hanson Archives. But I just want to take a moment to ask for your help to fund these channels. We are asking a $25 donation to buy my book. I wrote this book about Bohemia Grove, about when Alex Jones and I snuck into the Bohemia Grove Club.
It is the best and most comprehensive book on Bohemian Grove, and it's written by Mike Hanson, my old camera guy.
Mike Hanson Archives.
The newspapers were everybody came to read it. And so those papers were all taken apart and, people reading different sections of it because there was an article by the paper that was talking about David. And, of course, they were given their view. Well, I went down there and I could, I was trying to read it and then I decided, no, wait till everybody finishes and then I'll get the paper and I'll go upstairs and read it. So I ran upstairs to my room. I didn't stay there very long. When I came down, everyone had dissipated, gone to their own rooms. And I hunted around and picked up different sections to finish the article. And as we had 2 big windows in the foyer, and I was in the far window, and as I looked out, I saw these vehicles coming in. And I start from my room, and I look out the second window, and when I do, I see that they're coming in, and I knew they would not go down the road because there was nothing down there. I could see that they were going to stop in front. There's 2 big cattle trailers. And I wondered, what in the world are men going to do with those? Because lots of times the men would have something they would be doing, and the women would not be absolutely conscious of everything they were doing at the time.
You thought it was Branch Davidian?
Oh, yes. I thought
Okay.
it was somebody had gone out and got these 2 big trailers for a reason. And so I ran up the back way to my room, and I threw the pants on my bed, and I was about to lay down when it was terrific noise. I knew it was helicopters. I went to the window because I was in the back of the building. And I looked out, and when I did, I saw these 3 in V formation. And actually, they were heading toward the end of the building, the north side, and the big water tower. It was still standing. And they were firing. And I know, I just stood there stunned because I couldn't believe this was happening. It's like looking at a movie and then realizing it's a reality. And they were firing at David's room. There was no other spot on the building that they could have hit at that particular time. And I stood there watching, and I could see the shooting, and I could hear it, and I knew what was going on. And then they started to turn. Well, they were between the 2nd and the 3rd floor, and I'm on the 2nd floor. And I realized if they start to turn, I very likely am going to get hit. So I got down on the floor as they're turning, and of course as they're turning they're not firing until they get around a way, and then they start shooting. Now there was no shooting before that. And then apparently, I figure by the time they got to the front of the building, that's when all the shooting started in the front. But they had already hit our water tanks and killed
Peter Jant.
No, Peter was...
Winston Blake.
It was Winston Blake that was on his bed with a piece of toast in his hand.
Right.
And it had gone through the water tank and went into his room. Jane was up in her bed, she was at the second tier, and she was on the second floor down from my room. And she had just given her baby to her older daughter, and when she got shot in bed. And after that, it was shooting. And everybody hit the floor. All the women took the children and put them under them. And I kept thinking, they're going to come over that roof. You know, if I had come in and attacked a place, that's where I would have come. It was the most vulnerable spot, because that roof was only about 3 feet at the most to the bottom of the window. And the windows were open. And I thought they were along where our rooms were, and then went along the hallway. And I thought, surely somebody's going to try it. So I kept looking at that, and they kept yelling at me to get down, because one of the girls that was doing the script at me to get down, she said, you're going to get hit, because she could feel the bullets going through her hair, and she's laying on the floor. How I didn't get hit, I don't know. Anyway, that's what was going on at that particular time. Nobody moved. Even when I left, the women were still on the floor with the children, because we had no idea whether they were going to come back or not. And they kept it up for about 45 minutes.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
And of course the government have put out this idea that we were expecting this attack or this siege or whatever, and that we were all busily arming ourselves and waiting in ambush for them when they drove in. Just recently, the insurance company out of Atlanta for the Cox newspaper syndicate paid off the ATF in the court case they had against the Waco newspaper and the local TV station, Channel 10. They were suing them, saying that they had tipped us off and that we knew they were coming and we were prepared for them. And so to take you back a little bit further, we actually knew that something was going on 2 months before February 28th, but we didn't know who was involved, and we didn't know what it was all about. All we knew was that there were some men that had moved into the house across the street that were acting very strange. They were shooting in the backyard of their house. Their windows were always dark at night, even though we knew they were there. There's a lot of strange things going on. They didn't bring any suitcases with clothes and things like that. And so we kind of felt that perhaps I think probably the biggest idea that came to most people's mind, well, maybe they belong to the immigration people, trying to see if there's any illegal immigrants, inside. And so this went on for almost like 6 or 7 weeks. And at some point in that observation that they were doing, they made contact by a couple of them came over and visited one day, and eventually it led to this ATF agent, which we found out what he was later, by the name of Robert Rodriguez, who said he wanted to start having Bible studies with David Koresh. And so he started to come over and visit. He'd go over for a couple of hours and maybe have a private Bible study with David and so on. But on the day before the raid, he had spent the whole day with us. He had come over and it was a day, and so we'd had regular meetings, and he'd spent the whole day. And at the end of the day, he indicated that he had to leave town, but when he got back after several days, he wanted to move in with us if he could, if he'd be allowed, so that he could have, more studies and kind of just enter into the whole thing that we were involved in, as, you know, the daily living and the Bible studies. So David welcomed him. He says, fine. Unbeknownst to me, on the 28th, as Catherine mentioned, he shows up that morning with the second edition of this series that the newspaper was writing about us, or about David, called The Sinful Messiah. He had come out there with copies of this, and as I said, I didn't know that he'd even showed up that day because I wasn't expecting him to come back. And it was only probably because it was raining that day that most of the guys had not gone to work. We'd had breakfast and basically were hanging around our rooms when at some point, and I'm not real sure of the time, it couldn't have been too much later than when Robert left, I guess. I heard some noise out in the cafeteria area. A lot of people. You know, there's kind of a hubbub going on, and so I went out there to see what was going on. And it was at that point that people were saying, "Well, we've just heard that something's going to happen. Somebody's coming." And so about the time I walked in and you know, became aware of this going on, David Koresh walked in from the other side into the kitchen area and basically confirmed that he just heard somebody was coming out. He says, "I want everybody to stay cool." He says, "You know, just go back to your rooms, and I'm going to go down the door and talk to them." And so I went back to my room. He went out the other way, down the hall toward the front door. And the next thing I heard was David's voice at the front door saying, "Hey, wait a minute, there's women and children in here. You know, let's talk about this." And all hell broke loose. Just shots, just seemed like hundreds of shots coming in from the outside, in through the front door. And my immediate reaction was, my God, there's a massacre. You know, whoever went to the front door is bound to have been hit with all this fuselage of bullets that had come. So I went running down the hall, and the first person I came to was Perry Jones, who had himself up the hall several feet anyway from the front door area, and he was screaming that he'd been shot, and he was clutching his stomach. And so I bent over him and was trying to console him, and you know, and I says, "Well, what happened?" He says, "Well, they started shooting at the front door." He says that David got shot on it. I said, "Well, hang in there for a minute." And I ran down to the front door expecting to see bodies all over the place. And to my surprise, there wasn't anyone there. I mean, the whole foyer area inside the front door was empty. But the whole, the front wall was just riddled. The doors especially were just riddled with bullets, and some of the windows had been shot out. So I ran back to Perry and helped him back to his room. Put him on a bunk bed. Went and tried to get him some pain pills because he was just screaming with the agony of the wounds he had. And somebody came to me about the time I put him down on the bed, and they says, "Well, Winston's dead, Winston Blake." And I said, "Well, where's he at?" He's up in his room. So I went up toward his room, and I could hear all this water running, and I thought, that's strange. What's causing that, you know? And as I rounded the door into his room, Winston was laying on the floor in a pool of blood and water. And all this water was pouring through these holes at an angle into the room. The bullet holes were high on the outside as they came in. I thought, my God, they're shooting from helicopters or planes or something, you know. And so just thing was turmoil. I mean, there was chaos. There was people screaming, and I end up running back down the hall, and he was in the process of dialing 911 by the time I got down the other end hall from where I was staying. And he was calling the sheriff's department, and it took him 45 minutes to get a ceasefire. Well, excuse me, 45 minutes to get in contact with the ATF. He didn't even have contact with them. It took about 2.5 hours to get the thing stopped. And by that, they found out that we had 5 on the inside dead, another 4 or 5 wounded. And because we were beginning to hear on the radio by that time that we knew that they were wounded on the other side too, you know, the ATF. But throughout that shootout, I mean, you know, there was a lot of firing at the beginning, and then it was more sporadic for the rest of the time.
Building. Lots of armored vehicles moving back and forth outside the building, knocking holes in it. We have not seen any of the Branch Davidians, and we have not seen any federal agents anywhere in any of these pictures. Most of these are on our big lens cameras that can shoot over that 2-mile area.
Hello, folks. This is Mike Hanson here on Mike Hanson Archives on YouTube and here on my Facebook. And we're here at the 25th anniversary of the memorial service here in Waco, Texas, and we got Clive Doyle here. Can you tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on the 25th anniversary here?
It's
It's all right. Everybody knows you.
it's kind of hard. My daughter just died.
Now, that's what I heard, and we didn't put it out on the internet because we were asked not to. This is the first time people out here on my
A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't know yet.
that was your first daughter died at Mount Carmel, and this was your another daughter.
This is my oldest daughter. It's my youngest that died in the fire. And Karen was coming down, had her plane booked. She was coming down for the memorial, and ended up dying in a head-on collision. A drunk driver. People up in Pennsylvania saying that it was deliberate, it wasn't an accident. Tried to run a cop off the road first. I guess the cop avoided it. Tried to run down another woman and she avoided it. Karen was third in line. So they say she died instantly, which is at least she didn't suffer too much. But seems like every year there's a few more to go.
Yeah, it's just not many left. Clive, I'm so sorry for all the stuff that's happened to y'all, and hopefully it will get better. But you, like you always say, it's going to be better.
It'll get worse before it gets better.
Well, but once we're gone here, maybe.
Well, you know, KRLD called me this morning. Well, what do you think the government's learned in 25 years? I said, nothing. Except don't have the press there filming everything.
How are you doing?
There's Desi. Okay, well, we're getting ready to start. Who do you got speaking this year?
Phil Arnold, James Tabor, I believe, Catherine Wessinger, Mary Winborn wants to say a little bit.
Oh, good. Oh, I can't wait to see her.
So there's a lot of people.
All right, well, we're getting started here, folks. I hope y'all can make it here for the 25th anniversary here. And what's the address here? If they can still make it?
701.
701 Jefferson, Waco, Texas. Hope to see you here, folks.
Of listening to the outside world tell me what it was like when I was there.
I agree, yeah.
I can completely see where that would come in. How do you feel about the hearing?
I had some hopes going into the congressional hearing since I appeared up there that some good or at least the truth would come out. Those hopes were dashed basically because we saw the politics involved in both the congressional hearings and the Senate hearings. One side playing devil's advocate and so forth. But even when facts came out and individuals were exposed, you might say, as either perjuring themselves or admitting to certain things, nothing was ever done about it, and it certainly didn't help our friends who are still in prison. And so
Okay, for
I'm a little
hi
upset
Sheila,
over the-
25th anniversary
Yes,
of what
I know,
happened.
sir.
How are you?
Yes, fine,
Right
thank
here.
you.
Tell them to come on down. They still got
Yes,
time. It's
yes,
live.
it's still time.
Yeah.
Okay. Good
And
morning.
what do you think
How are
about
you?
the 25th anniversary, real quick, before we go
Sorry
in?
that it's still 25 years. I'm sorry that it's still taking so long. We want to get home. We want God to come and change all this.
Amen.
We don't have to think about
Absolutely.
people being dead.
Yes.
You know.
And look at all this food you brought.
Yes. Well,
You
thank
got
you.
everything?
Yes,
Well, we
I
still
think
got
so.
time to get here.
Okay.
April 19th,
No, it's just plain bread.
2018.
Okay.
What time is food?
12:30, quarter one, whatever, 1 o'clock. Okay.
All right, come on, park your car and come on in.
All right, then.
All right,
Thank you.
All
The
right,
government
folks.
that was doing it for the children went in there and destroyed your home, and then,
Yeah, they were
then
saving
they buried
them.
up the evidence.
They saved them with the CS gas. You know,
Yeah, saved
they
them.
wanted to make sure that took care of them, and they took care of them all right. And they
Right.
took care of everybody else there.
Let's go ahead and try another call here, and then we'll.
There's one thing, though, I'd like to inject. That many of the people that were there fighting us were very ignorant of what they were doing. It's the people that were running the place.
You mean the VATF, the actual soldiers?
A lot of them were new,
Yeah.
and they didn't know what was going on. They'd been trained to do a certain thing, and so they did it because they thought they had to do it.
And they were on the payroll.
Well, yes, but
Yeah.
you see, it's just like somebody is told something, and they don't know what the law is. They can be told it, and then they feel they have to do it. And the thing is, they don't have to do it.
I agree.
But you see, these people,
We're gonna
these
get
young
into those- we're
people
gonna get
that
into some
were
of that a
put
little bit
in,
later.
you know, they didn't know what they were doing. But the ones that got up there and spouted all these lies, absolute lies, and they knew they were lies, they're the ones that are more responsible. They're the ones that God looks down at and is disgusted with, and going to give them a second double portion.
And let me go ahead and read it, Kathy. Let's see. Do we want to do it like this, or?
Well, just, and then we'll go to call.
Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, tell us about the concrete room that the children were in for safekeeping.
Their women
and
were
tank went smashing into the walls, collapsing on children. Was that how the children were killed?
In this market, follow-up.
Follow-up is, are you inserting gas into the bunker, or into the school bus, into the underground areas where you expect them?
Question is, have we put in gas in the bunkers and in the school bus? Yes, we did. What we tried to do was deprive them of the use of that as a means of escape away from the building. Yes, sir.
What's the status of Vernon Howell's Camaro?
His Camaro, with all 427 cubic inches, is still in good shape. He was very concerned about that yesterday. In fact, that was probably the most violent that he's acted in the 52 days, how many is it, 51, 52? 51 days that we've been here. But we treated it with care. Question is there a point where the gas builds up and does become lethal? Not in the dosage levels that we're using.
You just said all the adults have gas masks.
The question is, what is the status of the children? We do not know if they have gas masks as well. But we have gone to extraordinary steps to ensure that the dosages being utilized are well below the medium lethal ranges. That the dosages being utilized are well below the medium lethal ranges of CS gas. We would not use dosages that would harm those children, nor would those dosages cause damages to their lungs or other types of injuries. There's been some unfortunate reporting talking about that if tear gas were utilized, it would deprive the children of oxygen and it perhaps could be fatal.
Smashing into the walls, collapsing it on the children. Was that how the children were killed?
Well, that's what Crow told me when there was quite a few of us at the Brittany Hotel, and that's what he said. They poked the hole in the building and went into this building, cement building, that was very thick. That'd been our refrigeration, where we had our refrigeration, and knocked down the roof, part of the roof, which came down and hit the children and the women that were there. And he said a lot of them had been hurt by that.
I hope you're enjoying the classic videos here on Hanson Archives. just wanted to take a moment to tell you the money that we get from my book sales are going into paying somebody to put all these up and to transfer them over from VHS to the YouTube channels. Alex Jones and myself snuck into Bohemia Grove. That's what my book's about. There's when we were a lot younger. There's Alex and there's me when we were a lot younger, in our younger days. Actually, that was over 20 years ago. And here is the book, Bohemia Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. And if you write the address she's going to put up right here throughout the video, write and send us $25, and I'll sign the book and send it your way, and we will use it very wisely to start uploading these videos, which we have been. That equipment cost me a fortune, and the lady that sits there is costing me a fortune. She's on her way back in here, but we've got all these tapes done so far, and we got hundreds and hundreds of more tapes. When I was the producer for Alex Jones and Jeff Davis and a whole bunch of other good patriots fighting the New World Order, I'll just say one thing: death to the New World Order.
What are they doing driving tanks into the structure with men, women, and children on the other side? Now, we're going to get into that here as the show progresses, but you're on air.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I had a question. There was one little blurb that was on national TV, and it was about David was studying the seven seals, and they'd come up with the first net I ever heard. I was wondering, did you all know anything about that?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, Davis gave us the
Thanks for your
seven
call.
seals. He instructed the seven seals. But if the thing is that none of us can give the seven seals, we do not have the same spirit that he had.
David, over the negotiating phones, David had told the FBI negotiators that God had spoken to him and asked him, or given him the go-ahead, to write out a brief explanation of the seven seals, which the negotiators had sent in supplies so that he could go ahead and begin that project, and he did indeed get started on it the night before the gassing.
Mm-hmm.
They had told him he could have all the time he needed, and the very next day they started ramming the building with tanks, injecting gas, and so the project was never finished. We do have the portion that he did write. One of those women that survived the fire came away with a disc, a computer disc, with the portion that he had gotten finished, and we'd be quite willing to send it to you if you want to contact us. We'll give you an address later on as to where you can write.
Do we have another call on hold, or has it been waiting for a while? Just a quick question or comment, because I want to get into the...
Hello?
Hello, how you doing?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, you're on the air.
Yes, good evening.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I wanted to call and thank Clive and Catherine for being on tonight. We really appreciate this. We knew from day one, our family, that the ATF was responsible, number one, for this. Janet Reno, every one of them were behind this. And I wanted to thank them being on tonight. I think teaching the American people and coming out with the truth more people need to know about. You know, myself, my family, our friends, we all know this. We were devastated by it. We didn't believe any of the lies being told to us on TV. I want to call and say thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for your support.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you.
Very glad to be here.
Before we take that break, though, I want to ask you all. I want to just get this in kind of quickly, because the last part of the show I want to get into. Like you said, you have current people now that are getting beaten in these prisons and stuff. So
right.
we want to get into some of the, as far as what I would like to see done, as far as indictments for the tank drivers all the way up to the people that gave the orders, because these people are not being held accountable for what I consider to be murderous acts. But until that time, I want to just ask you about the 51 day. Okay, first off, just quickly, because this is the one question that everybody asks me, and I've even forgotten the good response. Why didn't you all come out?
First of all, there was a certain amount of trepidation when the ATF evacuated after the shootout. There's quite a bit of fear, you might say, on the part of the people that were in there, expecting them to perhaps wait till nightfall and come back in and attack us. Of course, you know that they were supposed to have been relieved of their parts by the FBI by the end of that day. And from that point, over the negotiation phones, we were being told that even though they wanted everybody to come out, they did not want us all just coming out in all directions because they had the place surrounded. They had sniper nests all over the, in various localities, and they apparently had a hard time contacting these people. They weren't all hooked by phones or whatever. And so if we would be setting ourselves up perhaps to be shot if we just all came out, and, as I say, out of any exit or at any given time. So I was given to understand that it all had to be set up over the phones.
Underneath the compound, but gas will permeate those areas as well. So again, we're not anticipating they're all going to flow out at any second right now, but it has been quite substantial. Yes, sir.
Are you surprised no one has left the compound after you've opened up the walls?
Question is, am I surprised? Truthfully, I'm not surprised. I think you have a totally fanatical, committed group to David Koresh. We believe that there's a hardcore group. They're all heavily armed. They're all firing at our vehicles when they do appear. Those who are weak, we believe that they're surrounded with firearms and probably are not being allowed to leave. Those who are totally loyal to Koresh, it's going to have to require extreme discomfort, we believe, and probably a signal from Mr. Koresh that now it's the time to get out of here. Yes, time to get out of here. Yes.
Can you show us where on the map you inserted the F?
Well, I can't show you all because we have virtually surrounded
over the negotiation phones, being told that even though they wanted everybody to come out, they did not want us all just coming out in all directions because they had the place surrounded. They had sniper nests all over, in various localities, and they apparently had a hard time contacting these people. They weren't all hooked up by phones or whatever. And so if we would be held up perhaps to be shot if we just all came out, and, as I say, out of any exit or at any given time. So I was given to understand it had to be set up over the phones. And for several weeks, people were coming on a regular basis. There was over 30 people came out of there as a result of the negotiations that were going on and being set up. Me personally, I felt that the women and children would be first, maybe the elderly. The guys would be the last one, so I was quite prepared to stay until my turn came, you might say. Everybody I know that was in there had their bags packed. We were fully expecting to come out. As a result of the treachery on the part of the team, the FBI team that were on the ground, the tactical team, it seemed like every time came out or every time complied with what they asked us to do, we would be punished in some way. They would destroy something, they threatened, and they cut off our electricity. They were playing music and the bright lights and so forth. Everything that would seem to be done negative when we complied with what they wanted. So there came a point where everybody just basically forget it. We either all come out together or not at all, sort of thing, and it was kind of a standoff. That's the feeling on the part of the people as individuals. On the other hand, we also had a religious situation that a lot of people don't understand, and that is that God had told David to wait. They had not complied with his request to play the tape that Catherine brought out in prime time. That was the agreement. They didn't play it in prime time. Probably very few people in this country heard it at all. And so God told David to wait. And we waited, as I say, partly for an indication or some kind of sign from God or a green light. And that green light came when David was instructed by God to begin writing the 7 seals. But the FBI were impatient, and on April 19th, of course, they rode the negotiators, telling him to take his time and write this out, and then everybody would come out. They just decided to come in with the gas and demolish the building. And I don't know whether you got the footage tonight, but there's one footage where it says that their aim was to isolate us all in pockets, and by the end of the morning they'd pretty well done that. Those of us that were in the chapel were not able down to those that were in the kitchen areas upstairs were pretty well blocked off from getting up and downstairs because they were demolished by the and so forth. So there's probably a lot of people that would have liked to have got out of the fire once the fire started that were unable to. We know for a fact that there were people that came out on the offside from where the media were not available to take pictures, who were shot.
Because they were trying to
come out.
So the bottom line is you really didn't trust this
We didn't
government.
trust the government.
Yeah.
They hadn't given us any reason to trust them.
Outraged these jurors were by the government's own testimony about what happened at Waco to the Branch Davidians. Now understand, this is after the trial is over. Is the newspaper establishment, in this particular story, it's the Associated Press, is asking the jurors, what did they think? What comments do they have? They were just fit to be tied. It turns out that those tanks that we watched on the day of the assault, the final assault when there was the big fire and everything, those tanks that we watched on television were not just poking holes in the wall to insert gas into the structure. This is a red that's occupied by men, women, and children, yet those tanks that we saw, according to this trial testimony, the government testimony, those tanks were ordered to penetrate this residence occupied by men, women, and children. The strategy, the government's strategy as described at the trial by the government itself was to bring this structure down. This is a residence occupied by men, women, and children. Our government, that is supposed to be based on the ideals of freedom and liberty for all, our government instructed its gun agents to come into tanks and roll the tanks right into a structure that's occupied with women and as a result, some of the children that we were supposed to hold the government was saving died as the structure came down and crushed skulls. They died from blunt force of the skull to their skulls. It's like this. For people who are, how come there's a militia movement that's growing in this country? Well, you know, it used to be, I'm over 50. I was 52, just had a birthday just recently. And we used to use the phrase up in arms as sort of a metaphor. It was kind of a joking metaphor. People are up in arms about this or that. But when you have a government that orders its agents to get into tanks and run those tanks through a residence occupied by men, women, and children, and then no indictments. There's no indictment of the tank drivers. There's no indictment of the people who ordered the tank drivers. There's no indictment of any of the high officials. At that point, the truce has broken down, and the phrase "up in arms," the people are up in arms, is the only thing that's left for them as a reality, instead of it being a metaphor. So yeah, you have a growing militia movement because the government that isn't technically violating the Constitution or technically creating injustices. We have a government now that does it in a big way, does it on television, doesn't even get to sweep it under the rug. At trial, that what it did was order its agents to get into tanks and run the tanks through a residence occupied by men, women, and children, and there are no indictments of any of these people. At the very least, be indicted for manslaughter, if not murder. We haven't had that, and that's why you have a militia movement that's growing in this country. They see government that may, depending on which aspect of the militia you ask, there's going to be different things at them, and maybe you won't agree with them on this issue or that issue. But the one point that we can all agree on is you cannot have a government that just arbitrarily kills people, runs tanks through houses, not even have the agents who drove the tanks fighting. You cannot have that. At that point, there is no more choice. You have to in arms. You have to be ready to deal with that government in the same way that it's dealing with citizens. Now, I'm not advocating
that we raise an army and go storm Washington, D.C. Now, this is not a question of going in and invading. This is a question of people feeling the need to be ready to protect themselves with deadly force if they have to against a government that has gone outlaw. To the Branch Davidians, say you've been treated in a way that no human being should be treated, let alone people on American soil. This is an outrage. This cannot be allowed to stand. I am very pleased that Jeff Davis has been pursuing this in public access TV. This isn't an issue that's going to be pushed by the establishment media. This is Terry Liberty Parker, hardcore libertarian in Austin, Texas.
A Branch Davidian to join us. Clive, we're honored here to have your mother.
My mother.
Yeah, this is Clive Doyle's mother. And us and that know these people, we call her Grandma Edna. Grandma Edna, do you have any opening statements or comments you'd like to make to the viewers of the program tonight?
Well, I'm just hoping that the people of America will wake up to know that they've got a government that's running this country that's out to destroy those that don't go along with them. And what happened at Waco is not the last you've seen of it. It's going to continue on till God comes down and finishes the work himself.
So I want to just you ought to comment on that. I would agree with everything she said there, that there is a government in place now that is out to destroy anybody that's righteous.
Haven't they proved it?
Yeah. Well, that's what the scriptures teach.
That's right.
There are powers that want to do away with God's people. They want to persecute, make war on them, and unfortunately the scripture predicts that they will overcome and kill them for a period of time until the judgment sits and God intervenes.
And then when the end we win, or the righteous people win.
It says that the kingdom will be given to the saints.
In fact, I heard you, my first introduction to you, Edna, was on a Day 51 video, and I think you were sitting there with probably Woody Kendrick or one of these people. Maybe I've got it confused now, but somebody asked one of the Davidians about, do you think Jesus is coming soon? And you said...
In front of the courthouse after the trial was over in Cloud. And somebody was saying, do you think David will come back? Yeah, the sooner the better.
Well, actually,
and I'm still saying that. And I'm asking God, please hurry up and send David back and put an end to all this terrible violence, evil that's ruling this world. And nobody seems inclined to want to stop it. That's the pity of it all. People are just sitting taking it. Who started the militia in this country? Bill Clinton. Because he sits in a position where he brought about a position where people are afraid, so they take up arms for self-defense. Why shouldn't they? Who wants somebody bashing in home and kicking things around and just stand to it? No way. Not home anyway.
Grandma, do you have any thoughts about this? We hear rumors about this new world order that Bush...
Sure, there's a new world order. The devil's going to bring one in, which is coming in, is almost in existence now, and God's got one which is far better, and that's the one I'm waiting for. I don't want anything to do with Satan and the people that let him use them.
I agree. I think she did a fantastic job.
Anybody want to come up here? All right, that's it. All right, who wants to lead it? Let James go. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Here's all right.
God bless the Republic. Death to the New World Order. Yes.
Well, hello, folks. This is Mike Hanson here, and we appreciate you watching my new YouTube channel, Hanson Archives. Be sure to subscribe there, hit the subscribe button, and I have a new YouTube channel that we're going to put all the Waco stuff on, Waco Archives. And don't forget our other channel, Mike Hanson Archives. And if you'd like to help out getting all these thousands of tapes uploaded to YouTube, I am offering a special. If you send $25 into this address the lady is going to put up on the screen, we'll send you a signed copy of my book, Bohemia Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. And it was forwarded by Tex Mars. It just recently passed away. So our address there is 901 St. Joseph Street in Gonzales, Texas. So, and if you want to call us for any reason, our number is 830-672-3089. Be sure to keep subscribing, and if you want to look us up on Facebook, it's Mike Hanson, Hanson, from Gonzales, Texas. Alrighty, stay tuned right here on these channels for all these classics. Alex Jones, Jeff Davis, and a bunch of other great Patriots. So we'll see you next time. Keep supporting us. We need the support. It's costing a lot of money. God bless you.
To the establishment, we have this to say to you.
Problems in our country. Yes, we live in troubled times. There are far too many criminals and far too many crimes. I'm locking every window and I'm bolting every door. The tool I use in self-defense will even up the score. You can rant, you can rave, you can make your demands, and you can take my gun from my cold dead hands. Global corporations, they have billions that they pay to the greedy politicians who make sure things go their way. They tax us into poverty and we live from day to day. To them we're useless eaters, we don't get to have a say. You want to crash this Constitution? Is that what's in your plan? You can take my gun from my cold dead hand. In every case through history, when genocide was planned, the firearms were gathered up and the opposition banned. The tyrants made distractions and the people looked away. And by the time they realized they couldn't get away, the smiling face on my TV says we should all join hands and help create this vision of a new world order plan. We'll downsize our defenses, give our bases all away to a UN global peace force, and we'll do just what they say. Take your globalist agenda and your new world order plans, and you can take my gun from my cold dead hands.
Hello folks, this is Jeff Davis with the legendary Jeff Davis Show from Central Texas, USA. And I love Mike Hanson Archives. Peace out.
Why are they wearing ski masks?
It's a threat producing, it's a very much a psycho threat producing visual aspect. Many times they'll have a goggle sand wind dust over their eyes, which obscures the eyes, makes them look like they have real big bug eyes. That one guy on the far right, as I'm looking at TV over your left shoulder, he's got some goggles on. That helps produce a surreal image. And
and a secretive one.
Well, it's secretive.
You know what happens when I see something like that? It gets me infuriated. Makes me want to charge that animal.
That's an animal that's already ready to pull a trigger.
Oh, I know.
All right, so you need to pursue this. Your previous caller was right. You've got to pursue this. And Mike Hanson.
Now look, there's some older police, and they're not wearing ski masks.
Well, they come from a different era. And the indoctrination that's going on right now in the police force is just like that paper I showed you, I wrote for you. It's the same thing. This is a very bad thing.
Well,
it's
listen,
a very bad trend.
I look forward to seeing you, and I want to see you out at the seminar. And Joyce Riley's going to be there.
Yeah,
Captain
she's staying at the house that night.
Yeah, Captain Joyce Riley of the Gulf War Veterans Illness, and she's going to prove it to you with government documents, came through the Freedom of Information Act. Again, that's the last Sunday every month on North IH-35 from 1 to 6 p.m. Hap, I'm going to go ahead.
Take care, man. I'll get off. You can't let this one rest. This is an opportunity, and the people out there who are willing to do something other than listen to shortwave and tape your shows and send them around, it's time to stand. If I need to, I'll stand right next to you. I don't care.
This is an opportunity, man. You can't let this one go.
Well, I'll go ahead and pursue it, but I really don't. You know, I don't fault the officer. I fault
No, he's put in a bad position, and his behavior.
He was wanting to show off for the commissioners.
Well, whatever his motivation was, it was a wrong act. And
Well, yeah, I mean, I have no criminal record.
It needs to come out in the court. What was the indicator for potential criminal behavior?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your call, Hap.
Take care.
Take care, buddy. All right, I'm going to go to, is Jeff Davis here?
He'll be here in just a minute.
Well, where is he?
I think he's here, but he's not ready yet. So.
All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to one more phone call, and then we're going to go to this tape for a couple minutes. And you've already seen the tape. It's, again, some of the stuff that's going on in our society. It'll just be about 4 or 5 minutes while we usher Jeff in here to talk about what's been happening. And we'll take your phone calls. Another show's been kind of moving along at a strange pace. We'll take your phone calls in the last 20 minutes or so. But we're going till... Oh, yes, I do have to thank my sponsor. This show is 98.9 KJFK FM radio, supporting free speech here in Austin, Texas. So I want to thank 98.9 KJFK FM radio that sponsor my show and my weekend evening radio show on 98.9 KJFK. So this program is sponsored by KJFK. Thank you, 98.9 KJFK, for having the will to support me in my endeavors to expose the growing corruption of our nation. All Talk Radio, 98.9. All right, we'll go to one more call. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello, Alex?
Yes.
My name is Linda. I'm a first-time caller. I'm extremely nervous, so please bear with me.
That's all right. Go ahead. Don't worry.
I just wanted to share some things that have happened to me with my children going to public schools. Not in Austin, but in Friendswood, Texas.
Well, let's call them what they are. They have standardized testing. They have standardized control. They have federal standardized test. You know, it's just all controlled. It's cookie cutter, so it is. It's government. It's training centers. It's government training centers. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a label. That's what they are.
I totally agree with that. My oldest daughter came home one day when they teach child drug abuse in school and accused me of being a drug addict because I smoke or would take a Tylenol. And it had her so confused and upset. She cried and she didn't know what to do, and she said, "Mommy, I had to go to the school counselor." I also had them send me a letter telling me it was very possible I was going to have to go to truancy court because my child had chicken pox and was out for a little over a week.
Isn't it a beautiful system? I mean, now your kid's sick. I mean, used to, again, I mean, I'm a young man. It wasn't too many years ago when my mother was writing notes for me to go to school, a doctor's note.
Well, you can't do that anymore.
It's fascism. They're showing you who the kids are, and they're telling you it takes a village to raise your kids. That is not any little trifle joke. Hillary Clinton is a fascist worker of the Rockefeller Rothschilds British power axis. They are agents. This is all true. And every fascist government, every authoritarian government takes control of the kids, from the Hitler Jugend to Stalin's youth camps to Mao's Children of the Cultural Revolution to Fidel Castro. They focus on the youth because they are helpless people molding themselves to their helpless people yielding themselves to their molding hands. That's a David Rockefeller quote. That's what the government training centers are.
Well, it's totally true. And also what's scary is when your child comes home and threatens you that they can call Child Protective Services if you are going to try and discipline them.
Well, they're fixing to have the UN Summit on the Rights of the Child. And, you know, that's something during the break I'm going to try to find. It is, I believe it's actually at the end of this tape. And when we go to break, after we come back, I'll try to find that. And it shows little Chinese girls tied down to beds to starve to death in China, and the UN has been giving them dozens of awards.
Well, another thing I wanted to share, there is a biblical prophecy that children will oppress their parents. And I feel that the government is using this to keep us under their thumb.
Governments
and put out these new laws as well. And I also was flipping around on the station one day, and I caught just the very end of it when Clinton was making a speech. Maybe we can teach the children so they can teach their parents.
Yes, that's one of his sayings.
And the whole thing to me is alarming, and it is getting out of control.
Well, children have always oppressed their parents, evil governments, going back to Babylon, have nurtured the youth and always tried to turn them against their parents because there is fervor in youth. There is group psychology is much stronger in the youth.
Ancient Israel
and hold
did
on,
also.
as a society, we are all like children now. Mentally, I mean, adults are supposed to care about standing up for what they believe is right, and damn it, what I think is what I think, and I have enough respect to myself to think that I can have an opinion. Nowadays, you're not supposed to have an opinion in our culture unless it's handed down from some elitist or some supposed loving bureaucrat who, again, is really just a fascist technician of slavery, calling themselves a liberal. And they have all these peer pressure groups and all these group psychology, conditioning they're using, and our whole culture, we're a bunch of insecure brats at 50 years old, and I am too. And that's what we are, is a bunch of spoiled kids. So they want us all, the state wants us to be the kids. It's visions of the anointed. And that's what it is. They have visions of how we're going to live. They know best. We are there to be dominated. And that's what they're going to do unless we, all of us, have a just start, man, I'm telling you, we can do it. I mean, if you tell somebody and they tell somebody, not about my show, but just start energizing, get educated, start standing up. Don't go crazy about it. Just say, damn it, this is bull. And let people know and quit putting up with it and believe in yourself. What you believe matters. Education is the key. And the enemy knows that because what is education? It's conditioning. We have to counter-condition people. Listen, I really appreciate your call.
Well, I just wanted to say, to me, this is a very important issue because I feel like this is how they are trying to control us in a lot of ways by using our children and turning them against us.
Absolutely.
And
ma'am,
also,
Jeff Davis needs to go ahead and come on in, so let me go ahead and let you go.
Well, I did want to let you know my kids are now being homeschooled, and thank you.
Did you know that homeschool kids statistically have 30 to 40% higher grades, and the colleges recruit them?
Yes, I did, because I had to fight so hard to try and get them to teach my children to read.
Yes. Did you know that homeschooling is illegal in several states?
Yes.
I appreciate your call. And those are the states with the worst crime that are just total cesspools up north.
One last note on that is that my sister was homeschooled, and she went to Boston University on a full scholarship at 16 years old.
That's right. So that's what it comes down to, and you went to public school and are like me. Okay, let's go ahead and go to this tape and just for 2 or 3 minutes and then get Jeff Davis in here. We'll be right back.
They'll continue to accelerate the federal plans that are handed down to them by their advisors. That's bureaucrats for you. So dangerous because they're so ignorant and so self-serving. And they've got the SWAT team to back them up from people with their kids coming to talk about things that they don't appreciate. They're the ones that are threatening the military and the government and these guys, not Alex Jones and Mike Hanson and Jeff Davis, for God's sakes. These are the people that raise your taxes. These are the people that regulate you into absolute subhuman standards. These are the people that are deindustrializing our nation. Actually, these are the low-level technicians that just believe whatever they're told. And it's time that they start addressing what they're involved in. It's time we start putting pressure on them. And this parental rights issue is absolutely paramount to what we're talking about here. And then the SWAT team coming, that just puts the cherry on the cake, puts the cherry on the sundae. It's just unbelievable. We really are in a police state, my friends. Here's a lady that heard about it from our TV shows and came down. Her children, one of them was having surgery and she called the school. Didn't matter. Her kid was in Seton. Here comes the truant officer. We'll just hear it from her.
They couldn't guarantee me the truant officer wouldn't come after she had had surgery. She was going to be out a week. What's wrong with the system that we are paying for these people to come and beat on our doors at 8 o'clock at night when we do it right? We do everything right. I care for my children. My husband wanted to be here today to speak. He has to work today. I have have multiple health problems. I don't need this. We make sure that our children are taken care of. When that commercial comes on, do you know where your children are? Yes, my children are home, in bed, asleep. I don't need this heartache for some man with a gun to come to my door and tell me things that aren't even true. There's got to be a way that we can work this out. Something better. Truancy is a problem. What happened to a good old-fashioned phone call from the school? Hey, your kid's not here today. What's going on? They have 6 different numbers they can get in touch with us. Why don't they? Why do we have to pay this man extra when he could be on the streets doing something useful? To catch the criminals, not our children. Thank you for your time. You have a good day.
Well, here's some of our friends. There were a lot of police hanging out on the rooftops. We found it pretty interesting. I think actually, to be fair, there are some SWAT team compounds or sheriff department installations in the surrounding buildings, but they were all pointing at us and making comments. I'll show you some photos of some others on top of some other things. I mean, they were just all down the hallways, you name it. One of my friends got this footage. I wish I'd have brought a camera. I'd have filmed them all down the hallways. There was probably 8 SWAT team people inside of the Commissioner's Court building, courthouse, and there were quite a few more outside. And when I walked outside, they recognized it and were staring at us and having conversations about us. Believe me, I'm not this interesting. I'm definitely not something that they should be concerned with. Maybe they should be concerned with the CIA and the FBI and other institutions and organizations in our country at least letting the drugs come in the country. And that's documented.
Well, MJTF are just swarming. I don't know what's going on over in that building, but that's where the SWAT team guys, the MJTF went.
It sure is a very top floor, huh?
It's a beautiful country we live in now today, I got to tell you.
Yes, sir.
Look, here comes more SWAT.
Yeah, come.
More SWAT to make sure we're good.
You know, it's funny. One of these fellas didn't like being talked to. They were coming in to relieve the other guys, and he got a little bit angry. Now, it's funny. They'll come up and talk to you, come sit down beside you and tell you they'll take you to jail if you don't behave just right. Then they don't even like you saying hi to them. When the school bell rings, your children belong to Hillary Clinton in the Rockefeller Village. Think about where we are in this country. This is from tonight's news.
When the school bell rings, your child better be in the classroom or else the law could knock on your front door.
Better
But as
be.
KI's Chris Davis Jones shows us, one
Better
Travis County man is protesting, claiming that knock violates his parental rights.
Mike Hanson lives in far south Travis County. If you come to his house, you have to walk through this gate and ignore the trespassing sign. Last week, a constable's deputy did just that.
A private school would not rap on your door like that.
The officer wanted to know if Hanson knew his 11-year-old son missed school. Hanson says his child was sick and he didn't have time to call the school.
Just because there's crack mothers out here not sending their kids to school, don't come trespass on my property.
Today, Justin stayed home again. This time his dad kept him home in protest.
He has sent swarms of officers.
Hanson and a handful of parents also took their protest to the county commissioner's court meeting this morning. Their message?
Our priorities are screwed up. I mean, we're not worried about carjackers and murderers, but we're worried about, people's kids. And don't punish the whole society just because some people won't send their kids to school.
Constable Ricky Medrano credits the county's truancy program for preventing crime.
Because if a child is in school, the probabilities of the child going out and committing burglaries, auto theft, and just breaking into people's homes or just lessen that much more.
Mike Hanson doesn't buy it. He accuses Travis County commissioners of playing parent.
Margaret Gomez told me that she's doing this because she's a good American. I would submit to everybody out there that this is more like a good Nazi.
Hanson is threatening legal action, and he says if the deputies show up at his home tonight, he'll keep his son home again tomorrow. Now, Chris, is there any chance of that happening? Probably not, because the goal of the program is to inform parents in the beginning that their child is out of school, to make sure that they know. Obviously, he knew his child was in school. But in Hanson's precinct, 20% of the parents don't know.
Stay tuned right here for more classics. on this channel here, Hanson Archives. But to fund this station, I'm offering, if you send us $25, we'll send you a signed copy of Bohemia Grove Cult of Conspiracy. It was forwarded by Tex Mars that just recently passed away. Also, Alex Jones has a chapter in here, and you know that's good. There's us in our younger days. But on the address that you see, send us $25 and we will send you a signed copy, or give us a call at 830-672-3089, and you can put it on a credit card. We'll send it right out. But that's what we need to help fund this channel, folks. So help us get all the classics uploaded to YouTube. We got hundreds and hundreds of old Alex Jones and Jeff Davis and a bunch of other patriots that we need to upload. About 25
Again, I'm Alex Jones, and we are back. And of course, they didn't tell you on the news, and that lady's a nice lady. I've met her. Miss Chris Davis Jones is her name. And she didn't tell you, of course, that there are $500 fines involved. And this is just absolutely out of control. Here in town, you have $2,000 a day fines for 3-inch grass, $500 a day fines for your kids missing school, but carjackers and murderers and white-collar criminals have descended upon the city like a flock of carpetbagger locusts. Now, Jeff Davis is here, and I've heard some terrible news. I was there. I have it on tape, and we're obviously going to play it on probably his show Monday, because I have the tape and he has the tape. Jeff Davis's actual statement. And let me tell you what Jeff Davis's actual statement was. He said, God forbid one of these constables continue to trespass on people's property, and God forbid one of them gets shot. We hear that KVET News has been repeatedly, every hour I hear, playing, cutting off, God forbid one of them trespass, God forbid one of them get shot. They're playing one of them. Jeff, tell us what they're saying. You tell us.
Well, from what I didn't actually hear it, but I was told that by two sources that they're cutting off the God forbid if the laws don't change, that one of these constables could possibly end up getting shot out in somebody's front yard. It's just conveniently saying, yeah, one of these constables is possibly going to end up getting shot in the front yard.
Oh, God, they really hate you, man.
Implying
who did you anger?
We went down there to threaten. Oh, well, Alex, let me tell you something, brother. First off, before I get started here, I want to say that Alex and I kind of have what you would call maybe a love-hate relationship, wouldn't you say?
I don't know what you're talking about.
But the fact is...
Jeff's jealous of me. He brings this up every week. I don't know what he's talking about.
The fact is, this guy, and there's other people now stepping forward.
You must have talked a lot of bad stuff about me lately to be saying this. What are you talking about?
Oh, come on now. You know we have basically what's happening, folks, is we've got a legitimate movement going here in Central Texas. People realize the fact that what we're saying is the truth. And what's happening is, I believe, is all of the different people that are getting involved now have different strategies and different angles as to which way to go. And this is good. This is healthy. And I want to say I appreciate Alex. I appreciate Mike Hanson. Man, that man's standing up strong.
I want to say something about Mike Hanson. I've been over to eat at his house. I say this every week. I've been over to eat at his house probably 20 times. His wife's just a lovely lady. His children are impeccably dressed, nice little kids, great, well-behaved, aren't neurotic like most kids in your society today. I've been to his family reunion when he had, 98-year-old great-grandpeople there who are still sharp, still having good conversations. These are good farmer people.
Mm-hmm.
These are the salt of the earth. And
standing up strong.
Yeah. And, I mean, these are good, decent people. And he's your producer, and when KVUE 24, who's all smearing us out here, or whitewashing the whole thing. I want to go back a little bit.
I will say some good. Do have some good news.
Well, listen. Let me go back first.
Well, let me deliver the good news.
Go ahead.
Because you'll want to hear this. I'm not going to mention the source, but there is somebody inside the Travis County workplace, and they all are privy to watching these commissioners' court things.
Yeah.
Apparently, there were several of the workers in Travis County that were applauding our efforts while this was going on, basically stating that they have never seen these commissioners take a thrashing like they did down.
People go in there and just kiss their ass.
Yeah, so, folks, this stuff is real. Now, let me explain to you.
Well, Jeff, I want to go back.
I want to just explain this.
I want to go back.
Let me just explain
Go
this.
ahead.
Very important.
Go ahead.
Now, I was watching the part of the show on the way down here, and I heard Alex say, and this is so true, that these governments now are engaged at all levels in criminal activity. So what they are doing now to protect themselves, from the lowest levels all the way up to the World Order boys, is they are now hiring these enforcement officers, these SWAT mechanisms, and they are actually using them. They're stealing from us and hiring these SWAT enforcers as their bodyguards because they realize that they are engaged in criminal activity, and to protect themselves from the public, they are employing these mechanisms.
Well, even the scarier part, and I actually didn't do the camera shot right. We get a little bit wider shot if we want later. Looks like me and Jeff are sardines in here. What I wanted to say is that this, I literally a year ago didn't understand quite how bad it was. Just a few months ago, KVUE 24 did a piece where they called you or linked you to domestic terrorism, which is just absolutely asinine.
Yeah.
And then the day after that, Mr. Hanson's wife was pulled over in her brand new automobile with no bumper stickers that said, "I'm in the militia," or something, because they're not. These people are just totally decent, middle America. And militia's not a bad thing if it's not a government, provocateur agency, but let's get past that. They were pulled over and they were asked questions. Questions. They were asked all types of questions. She was about a mile from her home on the main road to her house. They were waiting for her. A day after this newscast, they showed Mike's picture, and they said, out-of-town militia, charismatic leaders, domestic terrorists. Mr. Hanson was born in Travis County. And there's no out-of-town militia I've ever seen around here. I don't know what they're talking about. We're just people that love this country and love our Constitution and like local control and people having control of their lives. So this is a couple months ago. And that's why Mike just blew up when a constable came out to his house, trespassed. They have a nice home. They have to have a fence up around it because there's cows in the neighborhood out in the country, and the cows are always getting into his wife's huge flower garden and Japanese bridge over a creek. These are good people. I can't, with vicious, Dalmatians and Labradors and collies. I mean, they're just evil people that need to be stopped. I agree with the SWAT team. Not being sarcastic here. And now, this is happening. We go down to the commissioner's court, and I said I was going down there in a nice way. I said I'm going down to the commissioner's court. Y'all can join me. And there's SWAT teams swarming around. If Elshire,
it's amazing, isn't it?
If Elshire and those guys are not drunk,
so
they're
afraid,
drunk on their power.
So afraid of just a feeble little talking radio host. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah.
Because they are engaged in all kinds of criminal activity, and they know it. So to protect themselves from the public, this is where we've deteriorated to now. So, folks, I want to just say that it is happening in Central Texas. It is happening. We are at a point here where we are waking people up, thanks to people like Alex and Mike Hanson and Wes Curtis and all of the people who are stepping forward. All those people that were down there today stepping forward. And it's happening, folks. And it's going to take a lot, I would say, to turn this thing back around, short of, some of us, a couple of us getting sick or some type of tactic that they could use to disrupt things. And right now, I believe you're already seeing the discrediting, demonizing mode, which actually, Alex, is kind of a compliment.
It's a huge compliment.
Yeah, it means that this movement has arrived here in Central Texas. Now, you and I were talking privately earlier today, going to Mike's, about how 5 years ago when I started talking like this, I was the catalyst, and no one knew what I was talking about, and it was kind of fun in a way. But then again, a lot of people weren't taking it seriously.
Well, I'll tell you, Jeff, 5 years ago...
Now that things are popping up.
5 years ago, I was watching C-SPAN reading, and I'd come to all these realizations, but I still believed in the system. I still thought that there was decentness in it. And I still think there is some decentness. But if you have a latrine full of pig crap, just because there is, one little speck in it that's clean doesn't mean it's a good thing. One drop of poison in water will kill you. I mean, this system is so corrupt, and the problem is that this thing gets more evil as you go towards the top. When you hit the pinnacle of this sucker, transnational people that finance wars and destroy whole cultures, you're talking about the prime evil itself. Let's tell them a little bit about the people that really run the whole system.
Well, let me first preface that with the fact that how this thing works, Alex, and you know this, but most of the people that we saw down here today, they don't own Federal Reserve stock. No, that's true. That little Margaret Gomez and I mean these people, there'll probably be a lot of them will be voted out of office and they'll be out of the mechanism. But so the point is this: basically, what you've got here is a huge Roman Empire, where a lot of people are just sucking the system.
Well, first of all, tell them what.
And they don't have
tell them what Roman Empire means. It means a criminal consortium, and let's talk about let's say not the Republic of Rome, but the declining Rome, where all you've got is the strong consolidated with their henchmen feeding off the weak, even though it destroys the civilization. It's called organized crime on a grand scale.
Yeah, that's what it is. And unfortunately, what we face right now, however, the process is starting to elevate a little bit, are people who lack the moral courage, Alex, to stand up against it.
They want to do what's popular.
In other words, they want
to do what's popular, what the peer pressure says, and until they see it come off their CBS or their NBC or their ABC or their CNN, which is, I mean, literally, Time Warner's part owned by the United Nations now. That was even in the mainstream press. When I talk about the UN,
weren't already.
Yeah, exactly. When I talk about the UN taking over, I mean, you got the Austin American Statesman right here, Model UN Conference, set at UT, the 4th annual conference. High school students learn about the United Nations by acting diplomats and ambassadors. They're not teaching them about the Constitution. They're teaching them about world law. These are the foreign banks run the UN. The UN isn't going to take over. It's only one finger on the fist. Well, explain to them. I mean, this is real. It's in their face.
Sure. And we were talking. Well, let me just mention. Yeah, it's absolutely real. That's why that's why what's going on is what's happening. Let me just mention a couple of quick things while I'm on this program as a guest here.
We're in deep trouble.
As far as we all get we both get a lot of calls on our comment line.
Hundreds a week.
Yeah, and I'm to the point now, folks, where I don't want to hear any more attaboys. Jeff, you're doing a good job. Alex, you're doing a good job. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear a little criticism about my roll-in being too long, or some of the
If you got a better idea, come down here and get your Access TV license, get your own show, and you may be on FM radio before you know it.
Or better yet, instead of telling Jeff Davis and Alex Jones to go find this story, send the story to us. In other words, the point is, folks, we are engaged in a war here.
Get off your ass.
For liberty. Alex, particularly Alex, spends a lot of time doing this, and I'm glad that he does. I spend lesser time, but there's a lot of people doing a lot of things fighting this corruption.
The Ritters, the Cobbs.
Lots of people that are stepping forward, right.
Curtis.
There's like 20-some people now volunteering in these seminars. In fact, there's a set that got broke down like in 15 minutes last month.
It's huge, so.
Okay, we need hundreds and thousands to turn this thing around. This problem, this criminal conspiracy, is much bigger than Jeff Davis or Alex Jones.
I want to make a point. This is great.
So don't say don't ask us what we can do, what we need to do. You do it. You go get the information.
But something I want to tell them is that this is the psychology of the modern age. It's the instant gratification. You're not going to go to Texas Best Seminars, free open to the public meeting, and solve the world's problems.
No.
You're not going to get an Access TV show and solve the world's problems.
Right.
You're not going to get an FM radio show that's highly rated and save all the world's problems. You're not going to get on the national news and save all the problems. You're not getting on the local news. It's all of us doing something.
It's going to take
And look, it's morale. It's defying. You're not going to have instant gratification. You've got to stick to it and keep pushing and keep plugging and have a crusade for some at least a honest debate.
Yes, it's going to take millions. When we were down at this commissioner's thing today, did you notice that there was very little exchange from the elected so-called servants? They sat up there and they listened to us.
Well, Elshire took telephone calls.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the kind of engagement that you're getting, folks. So I also heard another caller before I come in talking about writing your congressman. To me, this is going into a deep hole. We're wasting time and energy with these types of things. What we need to do is become like, and you appropriately answered it, we must become teachers. Folks, we're talking about liberty here. Your liberty is at stake. We are at 50-some plus weight of our resources being sucked off from taxes.
I hear the new numbers is 62%.
The Bill of Rights has
52.
been flushed down the toilet. There is no Bill of Rights. The 10th Amendment is gone. There's no states' rights.
But Jeff, it is not just the system. A lot of people say, okay, it's the system. Tell them who is orchestrating it from the very top.
Well, it comes down to the international bankers, and it comes down to people who own stock in the World Bank. We know this. It's it's the Rothschilds. It's Juan Carlos, King of Spain.
It's the parasites.
Edgar Bronfman. Yeah, people who have acquired their wealth and power through fraud. In other words, they don't go out and start a business and a legitimate enterprise and acquire their wealth and prosperity through legitimate business means. These people have set up debt usury money systems and have acquired their wealth through fraud. And but again, Alex, don't you agree? We need that largely, if you look in the mirror, wouldn't you say that the people are at least partly responsible?
Our establishment mirrors us because we
are allowing it.
Well, the establishment plows more and more of its resources into media and conditioning, and it's always telling you nothing counts, you can't change anything, just lay down, just feel good, just drug yourself.
Go to the sports arenas. All of this.
And we go to the sports arenas,
sure.
but the next day we know you can have both, my friends.
Sure, women, wine, song. You can have all those things, but where we're failing, folks, is our liberty. We are losing this war for this country.
Well, at a certain point,
our real freedom.
Hold on, too much. I mean, you're a married man with a happy family with kids. Too much women, too much wine, and too much song. You know, if you just do it in wantonness, will destroy you.
Well, I don't know. Solomon had 700 wives. He was the wisest man in the book. But anyway, folks, we are losing this war. Sure, we might know all the players on the...
I want to tell you something. There's a lot of indication that Solomon went to hell, but I don't want to get into that later.
But let me just mention that sure, you might know all of the players that are playing on the Super Bowl coming up. You might know all that. You might know all the sports teams, the basketball teams.
But you can't figure out the facts of who runs this world.
You don't know what the Bill of Rights represents. You don't know what this country is founded upon. You don't know what real liberty is. These are the issues where we're losing, folks.
Garbage in, garbage out.
This is the issue where we are losing.
You have been manipulated from day one, from cradle to grave. You have been taught that to be compassionate. Hold on.
Go ahead.
That to be compassionate is to submit and to lay down to the will of those that know better for the collective. If there is no individual right, there is no collective right. We are the smallest unit of this society. And when they elevate animals and the environment up to the level of humans, the animals can't speak for themselves, so the UN has to speak for them. The federal government has to speak for them. And there's more animals than there are us, so they outvote us. It's all manipulation. These criminals that I wouldn't even call them international bankers, international con artists, who have bought up most of your good banks, bought up most of your credit, bought up everything of any significance, the credit card companies.
Actually, they consider themselves God.
Yes, they do. They consider us.
And the way they manipulate people around, it's almost appropriate. And the reason why I came on the show tonight to tell you all this is that time is running out. One of these days, if this system is not turned around, you're gonna remember.
We'll be in another Nazi Germany, another Stalinist Russia, another Maoist.
You're going to remember
China.
Jeff Davis and Alex Jones and people like us, and you're going to say, "By golly, those guys, those kooks or whatever you're thinking. Some of you are thinking that we are. By golly, those guys were right." You're going to find yourself.
Hold on, Jeff. So many of the people that disagree with us are so dumbed down, and they have absolutely no critical thinking.
I'm not concerned about that.
I'm trying to say something to them.
Yeah.
Okay. They will never even know that they were defeated. They will never even know that what they've been sucked into. And you hear the same thing out of their mouth. Oh, you read Soldier of Fortune. Oh, you believe in black helicopters.
Which is a front magazine, by the way.
Yes, exactly. It's a front magazine. So.
I wouldn't read it.
Yeah, so, exactly. New American's great. You can sit there and, it's a great source of information. You can sit there and, deal with this any way you want out there. But basically, you better start doing some soul searching. You better start thinking past just the popular BS.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to do it right now.
Time is short.
I promised the callers that we go to them at 20 minutes left. Hello, you're on the air.
Alex.
Yeah.
Jeff. You guys are hitting everything right on the head, man. But I'll tell you what, Alex, if you don't pursue what just happened to you today, I'm going to come down here and kick your butt, brother. Because this is right in your hand now. The ball is in your court.
Well, I tell you, man,
you need to. This will allow a lot of people to wake up.
Well, what are you going to do if they plant drugs in my car?
What will I do?
Yeah.
I'll go down to the police station right there, then and there. I wish, I wish I was there today with you guys. Okay, number one, I could have brought about 50 guys with me, whatever. We need to get together more and more. People need to get... Alex, you guys are hitting everything right on the head. Hey, I know if they plant shit in your car, people are going to wake up more. They are falling into the trap by stopping Mike Hanson's wife a couple of months ago. They're falling into the trap by going to his house the other day and wondering why his kid isn't in school when he's an 11-year-old A student and only missed one day. They're falling into the trap when they come up to you with the SWAT team. They're falling into the trap. It's in your face, okay? Like you've been saying.
And this was a political meeting. This was at the commissioner's court.
It's amazing.
I made no threats. I walked in and sat down the front row, and that wasn't enough for the SWAT team. They had to show off.
Well, you need to pursue this big time, brother, and if you don't, I'll come down there and kick your butt.
Well,
I'm serious.
Well, appreciate that call. Well, for those of you out there that are just tuning in, I played it earlier, them at the commissioner's court coming up and giving me this printout of fire in the theater, false alarm or report, and telling me that if I did anything, they read me the riot act at the court when I had no history of this.
Yeah, they gave me one of them too.
Yeah, and it's just, well, they come over and sit down beside you, and
I was in the back. I got there late.
Yeah.
But I certainly noticed them. You can't miss them when you walk in there. They look like the inquisitors of the Catholic Inquisition.
It's pretty disgusting.
But let me just.
Did they tell you they'd throw you in jail if you caused any problems? Because I want to get other people involved in this.
I didn't talk to them. I stayed. I say I got there late. I stayed away from them. Stayed away from most everybody because I knew that we. I mean, as soon as you walked in that place, the eyes. I mean, the evil looks that you received.
Did you see the footage that I played?
It wasn't even a SWAT guys. It was a bureaucrat. As soon as you walk in there, boy, they're just.
Did you see the footage that we played, the Ritters of the police on the roof and things? We didn't get some of the best footage, but you see them, they were up on the roof with their...
I might have been on my way down at the
time.
I
mean, we're dangerous. They have to put police on the roof for us.
They really had. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they had them all over the
Oh, that's lovely. It's everybody's in best interest.
They're wearing black, my friends, with combat boots. Let's go to a caller. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, that's me. Oh, my goodness. I think you're right to be afraid of these people. My husband and I have been fighting them for 3 years now. We just had our window kicked in on our truck last night. We've talked with you before. We've been invited on the show. Frankly, we were afraid to come because of the retaliation that we've gotten. Ultimately, it's a long story. It started in the criminal court system with a DWI, bogus blood test, an attorney who handed my husband over to them. Because of the corruption at the higher levels, they know they can get away with whatever they want at the lower levels.
Well, let me just comment on that. Ma'am, I'm not trying to insult you or anything like that. However, if you get to a point where you are afraid to speak your mind or to say something, you're already living in tyranny.
We've been living in hell for 3 years over this shit. My husband just got out of jail. Ultimately, we found that it's a policy in this county for people not to take the oaths of office. In fact, I've got 3 certified copies of blank oaths that Alshire signed here. As soon as we found that out, it got much worse. We've had attorneys tell us to run. It's been real bad. It's been awful, and we're thinking about leaving.
You have to get an outside attorney like Gary Spence or somebody?
We called him. They wouldn't. We did call him. We spoke with Ray Fortane.
I don't trust him either.
We spoke with him. We spoke with Dershowitz. Eric Mobius has actually been helpful to us. He's a good friend. I can honestly say we're down to about 2 good friends, but they're good friends. And,
well, I mean, I'm telling you, I think there's mainly good police, but definitely they're surrounding themselves in the SWAT element and things.
And I think they are hiring more mindless blockheads, that will just
go kill, and they'll, like grunt type, like the old military.
Charge that hill.
Yeah.
That's the way you do.
Yeah, like the old grunt type, where they...
And instead it's some pregnant woman holding her baby on the front porch, like,
I want
Vicky
to take
Weaver.
exception to that, the caller, the prior to this young lady here.
Yeah.
I'm not so convinced yet, Alex, that if they moved in on people, on patriots, that there would be a huge outcry. Because just between you and me...
People are cowards.
Just between you and me, I believe that Rick McLaren and those people sitting over there at Fort Davis and the Presidio County Jail are largely political criminals. And I don't see a huge...
I agree, they are.
I don't see a huge outcry. So where's the outcry?
Appreciate your call. Well, I want to say one thing about this whole Republic of Texas deal. I've talked to Rick McLaren. They seem like decent people. I know that was a whole setup. There was no shootout.
There was no kidnapping.
It was the other guy firing at them. He was a government informant. It's like this in every case. Hell, going on right now today, Texas Monthly. Texas Monthly's got an article in it about FBI provocateurs controlling the Ku Klux Klan in North Texas and making up this so-called exposed bomb deal. That's this month's Texas Monthly. This is what we're talking about, and we can sit here all day and deal with this, but I have to tell you, I am not for leaving the Union, and I think they're wrong.
Well, I'm not talking about the strategies. I'm talking about 99 years in prison, man. The guy's life
But a murderer gets about 5.
Yeah, the man's life is ruined. Not only them, you've got Branch Davidians that are sitting in prison.
They definitely did.
And the jury even found them innocent. Some phony judge just said, well, we forget what the jury...
You know what I got a fax
We got
on?
Linda LaRouche people sitting in prison. Now, I don't happen to agree with everything Linda LaRouche says, but the fact is there's at least 6 of them that have been sitting in prison
There
now
are political prisoners.
for 5 years.
Let's go another call.
There's Black Panthers. There's...
Oh, okay. You want to put that?
Where's the people need to be outcrying for these people that are already being...
Let's go ahead and go to a caller.
That
Hello,
are being,
on the air.
Well, good evening again. Good to see you, Jeff. This is Recon.
What's going on, brother?
Oh, I tell you what, man. I'm just sitting here just wishing to hell that people would start walking the walk. I hear lots of people talking about things and talking, but it's time to walk the walk.
Well, it's hard to do.
Get down on them, Alex. No, let me finish.
Okay,
Get down on
your
them.
second call of the evening. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, thank you. You get down on them. You have a legal right. And this is exactly your forte. This is what you've been talking about. Think about what I'm saying, please.
I think I'm going to pursue this, Robert.
Do that.
And I appreciate your call. You're a good guy, but I got to get some more calls. Hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, I used to go and battle against City Hall, City Council, and, one of the things when you go in there and you realize you're putting yourself on the line, you get a little nervous, you start thinking about what the heck you're doing, and, you start getting a little depressed and second-guessing yourself.
Let me ask you a question, caller. Do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about the bureaucrat intimidation smile? I walked in there when they saw me when I sat down in the front row. They all, especially Miss Gomez and other people, they started giving me
through
this.
you like you're invisible.
Well, they started going.
Right.
And so I smiled back at them like that, and they quit. So
Actually, I didn't really get that.
He loves them.
No, I actually felt like there was a certain amount of respect to a point. However, I didn't get nervous and all that like you said. I actually, Alex, I actually kind of got a little depressed again. I think my speech indicated that I was emotionally drained, and in the sad state of affairs that this world is in.
It is depressing.
It can really take you down.
Caller, do you have any more comments?
Yeah, 2 final comments. One, I wish you guys would get the terrorism bill signed in '97 on there on your show.
No, wait a minute. You can send Alex a copy of it.
Okay.
You do that.
The woman who called earlier about home.
You're talking about the 1997 omnibus?
The one that says
Omnibus 2?
The one that says if you're the Terrorism Act they signed as a result of the Oklahoma bombing. The one that says if you're homeschooling, that's a characteristic of being a terrorist in the United States.
People that talk too much about the Constitution are terrorists.
Well, why don't you do me a favor, caller? Either send it to my P.O. box or to Alex's.
Okay, you guys put it up on the screen.
Okay, thank you. That's what we need. We don't need any more what we need to be doing. I've had it with that.
Several thousand years ago, somebody said keep the faith, and he kept the faith and fought the good fight. You guys keep it up.
Thank you, brother.
Well, I don't claim to be Jesus Christ or a prophet, but I would appreciate it if people would start coming forward.
Right.
And doing what it takes.
No, I'm not trying to aggravate him, but see, just the way that was worded. You guys need to. You
Well,
guys.
it's a mentality. The government needs to do this for us. The policeman needs to do this for us.
This guy's doing enough, man. He's doing radio twice a week. He's down here twice a week. You know, I mean,
4 hours of radio a day.
Yeah, and I'm doing radio. I'm down here normally 2 times a week between my tape show and my live show. You know, we talk about this to people. We speak at seminars. I mean, we're doing what we can do.
We go burn UN
We need
flags.
help, man.
Yeah.
Don't call up here and tell us what we need to be doing.
We go and we burn.
You come and help us.
We go and we burn UN flags to celebrate UN Day in our own way.
We got some more events coming up down the road here.
You know something? The newscast said that they had a small group of parents. There was a whole bunch of people there.
Oh yeah, that's another one of their little catchy. Yeah, there was about 30-some people in that place. And the media said there was a handful, like 5 of them.
Do you know how many people there usually are?
This is the type
at the commissioner's court. No one, but a bunch of filthy bureaucrats.
And this was a short notice deal. I think we could have gotten 100 or 150 down there had we, planned this a month in advance.
Well, I didn't really push it.
Yeah.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yes.
How you doing?
My name's Kelly, and I've got quite a situation here in Travis County. We've got all 3 criminal county court laws are unconstitutional. They failed to subscribe to the oath of office as prescribed to by the Constitution of these United States.
But they're bureaucrat enforcement arms. That's what I'm saying. You've got a parallel government where the president signs things, governors sign things, mayors sign things, commissioners just sign it. They just appropriate it, and they've got an endless well of your money.
Well,
could you send us?
There's more. We've actually filed a complaint with the FBI.
Well, let me ask you a question.
And guess what else? Half of them haven't subscribed to their oaths either.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why don't you send us Can you send us a copy of this?
You've actually asked me to come on your show.
On my show?
Yes, sir.
Well, gut up and do it then.
Yeah, come on. Then give us some information. And
In fact, I'll put up my comment line later. It's 343-8513. It'll probably be jammed out today, but you can call me back on it tomorrow. People, you out there start doing something.
That's right.
And
That's the whole point.
And listen, I'm not being mean to you guys out there, but it's really time.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I am getting sick and tired of the attaboys on my comment line. I don't even get called to mark my comment line.
Let's quit being mean. What I want to say.
No, I'm not being mean.
What I want is I want more people to line up behind us.
To do things.
Yeah.
Not the line. They don't have to line up behind.
No, I'm not saying line up behind us. I'm saying line up behind us. So as we get tired or whatever happens to us, there's new people that have grown in the movement to step in.
That stuff can grind you down.
Yeah, I mean sometimes
even you. I mean, this guy's a young guy. I mean, he's got wrinkles on. He's got bags under his eyes today. I can understand why. We've been in front of the television now. What, since 8 this morning?
I've been up since 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I was editing these pieces we did today. I was going around and getting tapes from people that taped it. I was.
And I'm 37. I'm soon to be 38. I don't have the energy that you do.
I'm gonna tell you, I looked a lot younger 2 years ago before I started this. I have age, so I can.
Hey, the wisdom will age you.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, wisdom will age you.
I don't have much of it. But
yeah.
Hello, you're on the air.
Alex.
Yeah.
Jeff.
How you doing?
Tony Vasquez.
What's going on?
I don't want to get into the Republic of Texas, but do you have anything to talk about?
Yeah, I know. You'll learn someday. Listen, I saw your piece yesterday on the Skull and Bones. Great piece, Alex.
Yeah, we played that on our special edition Friday, too.
Yeah.
And I want to just expand on that a little bit.
It's a secret society at Yale, a breeding ground for the banking elite, and it's a fact.
Okay.
But it's in our business.
Tony, we only got about 3 minutes left. So you need
right, here's 1 minute. The elite, for those who are just starting to learn about this is what they control, okay? The education, the money, the law, politics, economy, history, psychology, philanthropy, medicine, religion, and the media.
Yeah. And they do this, and I appreciate your call, they do this through so-called elite organizations. Oh, the best people that are funded by this foundation say this. They're the best scientists, the best ministers, the best teachers, the best writers. They say big global elite government's good, so it must be. Or they'll give you all these false little so-called revolutions that really just leads you into more slavery.
The easiest way to identify what's happening is anything that has, major significance, you can pretty well write it off. Yeah. It is something that they have either created or infiltrated. That's a pretty easy...
something that... It's either,
and also,
it's either
something like what your grandfather said. If they present something as white,
consider it black. If they present somebody as good, consider it them a lot of normally bad, and vice versa. But what's black is white, and what's up is down, and what's left is right. Your grandfather said that, and that's well said.
He's a good guy. You've met him, you like him.
Yeah, I like him, yeah. In this world, folks, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a system that's almost totally false on every front.
Well,
Alex, I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, Jeff, it was good having you here.
Good day here, and good fight today. And,
I'm sorry, and you're right. I got 3 hours sleep last night.
Yeah, you've got circles under your eyes.
I didn't get out of here until like 1:30 last night because I was on TV till 12:30. Had to help break down in the other show. Then I got home.
This guy even edits, and I mean, this guy does things that I won't even do. I mean, he's down here editing, putting together all these documentaries. And
well, just a little
you're
slack.
doing some fantastic work.
Well, I got a real documentary I've been working on. See, I'm trying to do that good, and I got to take these other classes to do it right. And it's just
Mike Hanson's doing some. I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good things, and that's why the things are unfolding in this town.
Our labor is bearing fruit.
Our labor is bearing fruit. The truth, my friends, cuts through all the lies of the world.
It'll set you free. And listen, you could think it's a torrent of lies and hard to defeat. Once you realize their pattern of manipulation, I mean, every story, the children, it's UN camp at the high schools and the colleges for the kids and the women.
The children.
For the women and the kids.
For the environment.
It's the kids here, Buddy, the dog. But you go down to the commissioner's court, the SWAT team will try to.
Oh, did you hear about the story, the top story today in the news?
No.
If you have a gun permit, you're higher incidence of criminal behavior. That was a top story on all of them.
You know some top information they're not telling you? Every city, county, or state that gets a concealed handgun law, or even a openly display one, violent crime after 3 years drops 20%.
But that's not what they said today, Alex. They said the criminal activity amongst gun permit owners.
Do you know what it is?
Is worse.
Do you know what it is? It is the simple fact of. It is the simple fact of that all these Rockefeller and DuPont and Ford and Carnegie foundations are out funding all these BS
and also, by the way,
studies.
Did you know that CNN recently last week did 2 polls? Bill and Hillary Clinton were the most, how they put it?
Most admired.
Most admired men and women in America. This is the kind of
fascist. Hold on, fascist. No, come on.
Okay,
fascist,
BS.
Yeah, I need to quit doing that myself.
Okay.
Fascist. These are fascist technicians trained in Europe to socialize your country. Socialism and communism is a movement of the economic transnational elite to consolidate wealth. It is not a movement of the downtrodden masses. Shake loose of your lies. Che Guevara was not a communist at the end of his life. I'm sick of all you dumbasses wearing Che Guevara shirts thinking he was a communist. He left Cuba, realized who ran the whole communist.
That's the guy you were showing me today?
Yeah. I mean, you see these little liberals running around, little social
There's the address. Send Alex some the information. Don't call and sit that and say he needs
and
to
if
get
you
it.
see somebody getting violated or a good story, or you want to come on the show and you've got the will, give me a call. It's time we all wake up. Long live the Constitution and the Republic for which it stands, and death to the New World Order. Death to the idea of a transnational slave state.
Appreciate it, Alex.
I'm Alex Jones. I will see y'all next Tuesday, 8:30 to 11 p.m. right here at Channel 10.
God bless you.
That's it. All right, who wants a leader? Let James go. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Here's all right. God bless the Republic. Death to the New World Order.
Hello, folks. This is Jeff Davis with the legendary Jeff Davis Show from Central Texas, USA. And I love Mike Hanson Archives. Peace out, baby.
Never miss it. You never know what she'll do.
You're a bunch of morons if you don't watch her on ACTV. I'm Sammy Allred, and I'm not a bootlicker like Bob Cole and Bob Crowley. I just love my ACTV. Good night, nurse.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
And of course, we're doing a show today on Turner syndrome. And you're saying to yourself, what's Turner syndrome?
And I didn't know what it was until I started reading about it. But, you know, the more I talked about it, like most anything, Richard Beretti, once you start talking about it, you find out that people know about it.
Well, you know, it was interesting. You gave me quite a bit of information to read about Turner syndrome, and you don't realize that that's out there, and it's very interesting. And we have the opportunity today to talk to a young lady and a mom who they deal with it on an ongoing situation. And a sister.
And a little
that's
sister,
right.
right. A
Cute
younger
little
sister.
girl.
Well, we have cute girls. We were just talking about how much we like girls. How are you? It's Brittany Cook. Did I get your name right? Well, talk for us, Brittany.
Don't be scared.
You're all dressed up and you have on, this is the cutest outfit you've got on with ribbons running through your dress.
It's my sister's.
It's your sister's? Well, I don't blame you. I have sisters too. Wear their clothes all you can, you know. And you have these shoes that match it. They match all the colors in your dress. What grade are you in?
Third.
You're in third. Okay. Come, Tiffany, come over here. Come over here. Girls, get over here by me. Okay.
This is Tiffany Cook,
and
she's 6 years old.
She's 6 years old.
And Brittany is 7.
Brittany's on. Get over here by me, Tiffany. I'm not, Brittany. I'm not going to hurt you all. I have a daughter.
It was raining here.
Yeah, and when we talk about Turner syndrome, one of the things you're going to notice is that Tiffany is a little bit bigger than Brittany. Right. And this is Mama. As Richard and I were talking about this. It's the cutest Mama you've seen.
Oh. Just a tiny little mama.
She is little. She's got, you know, you work out.
Oh, work out in the yard.
Oh, okay.
That's a
workout.
I do too. That's
Barbara,
a workout.
Why don't I look this good? But you have a son, and then you have another little daughter. So you have 4 children. You have 3 girls.
One from previous marriage, and 3 daughters.
And 3 daughters. 3 pretty daughters.
Kimberly is not here today.
Where is Kimberly?
At daycare.
And she's the baby. She 2, and she has all those curls on her head. You don't like her much, do you?
I love her.
I bet you do. Does Kimberly get a lot of attention?
And she's 2 years old.
She's 2 years old.
And she plays it. Tiffany gives Kimberly the whipper, and then Kimberly raises it up.
Wait a minute, the whipper. What is that? What?
The flash water.
Oh.
and she whips us.
Oh, the baby gets you?
She goes around and gets them like flies.
She swats you. But y'all have a good time because you've got 3 girls right here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just great.
We stay busy.
Well, I bet you do, Barbara. You have a pretty place out here in the woods.
Yeah, it's secluded.
Well, that's all right. That's what I like.
Yeah,
but you happen to be Mike Hanson's sister-in-law, right? You're Melissa's sister,
yes,
his wife's sister.
Yes,
A bunch of blondes in this family.
Yeah, there's some blondes.
In the family. And when he first approached me about this, he said, my sister-in-law wants us to do this story. And as I say, when I started telling people about it, then, oh, I know somebody with that, and I know, you know. So I said to Mike, well, what exactly is it? And we got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So Richard and I both read about it. And Brittany, okay, now, is she small for an 8-year-old, 7'5", 7 3/4"?
Yeah, she's pretty small. She's on the Turner syndrome growth chart. They have a different chart than, like, she would be on another chart, development chart, and everything for the pediatrician.
When has we squishing you? Well, it's because you little girls, y'all are
just a little nervous.
Little tiny. Well, that's okay. Be nervous. Only about 1 million people watching you. When did you first find out she had Turner syndrome?
When she was about 18 months old. When she stopped growing. She was at 8 months old when she stopped growing, and when they're only 13 months apart. And so my pediatrician realized, you know, this couldn't be normal. And when he asked me how long was she when she was born, and I said she was 21 inches, and he goes, no way. And I said, yes, I know, you know, how long she was. And he says, no way. And we started measuring her, and we sent her to a specialist, and the first specialist said there was nothing wrong. You just check her diet.
Is she healthy?
Made me feel guilty that, oh, maybe I'm not feeding her right.
But
maybe
now,
she's not
was she healthy otherwise?
Yes, she was healthy. We did have problems at birth. You know, when she had like a bowel movement inside right before she was born and everything. But that has nothing to do with Turner syndrome at all.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, that has nothing to do.
Yeah.
And as far as everything else, she was, you know, pretty healthy and everything, and they didn't detect her then, which, you know, normally they probably should have.
What is there? Can you detect that? Now are they looking for it in newborns?
Yeah, they can detect from the chromosome disorders and everything. If they do tests, I'm sure if they were developed, you know, in delivery and everything, I don't think. But like they can detect it before they're born. And
With the
everything with the chromosome
okay, so
disorders.
that's what it is. It's
yeah,
a chromosome
disorder. Yes.
And do we know why we have?
No, we don't know. It just when, you know.
Has anyone in your family had it that you know of?
No, nobody. Okay. Just as a first and everything. It's like 1 out of 2,000 people is born with it, and a lot of people don't understand, you know, what Turner syndrome is, and then a lot of them, when they go through puberty, is when they find out, when they don't have their menstrual cycle.
When they don't have a menstrual cycle.
When they're about 13 or 14, that's when they find out.
And they usually don't have any reproductive ability.
And
which is no big deal, trust me.
Right. Yeah.
Now, really. I mean,
yeah. And my doctor was Dr. Matusik, was the first one that diagnosed her, and she passed away. I believe it is 2 or 3 years ago with a brain tumor. But I really had a lot of faith in her, and she guided us through it. And we had some counseling when she was first, you know, diagnosed and everything. But and then we have a Dr. Ray now. We have come to find out, Dr. Ray went to school with Dr. Matusik and everything. So they knew each other.
Well, now as far as school work, is she okay in that?
Yeah, she's fine in that. She stays up with everything else. She has a little problem with math and everything.
So do I. Okay.
They said that they will have some disabilities, but we overconquer those and everything.
I got just 1 X on math, and my mom and my dad were very proud of that.
Yeah,
well, I would be too. But math is, you know, a lot of people have trouble with math. Some people have trouble with English.
Some people have trouble with street math.
Yeah.
I can't read a street map, okay? I am what I call.
That's all right.
See, that's that little humor they threw in there.
I can read a map.
Well, you probably can, but I'm what's called a kinetic learner. I don't know if that's right or not, but it sounds good for not being. No, that's what it is. I have to do something before I really master it. You know, if it's computer or a map or anything else, that's why I'm so good at math. So I understand that, Brittany.
But as far as any learning disabilities, she doesn't have anything that's major. We did have to do some tests to find out if she had a horseshoe kidney and if everything was all right. And
is that sometimes come with the territory?
That's common.
Okay, but that's all right.
Yes, everything. We tested all of her organs and everything, and the doctor did tell me, Dr. Matusik said that, you know, she'll be infertile, and do tell her now that she will never have, you know, children.
That's no big deal.
That's right. That way she can accept it longer.
You can adopt. That's right. You can adopt children, or better yet, well, I think probably having 6 or 7 dogs in your yard would be just about as good sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you can adopt. There are lots of babies that need adopting out there, and you don't know. You may want a career in something. You know, you may. Who knows?
She could be #1 on the adoption, you know, agency, because she's, you know, she does have, you know, Turners, and she's infertile, because a lot of them, they have to wait, and, you know, 5 years or something like that. She can go right in the program because she's
probably and get and get a baby, and so that's and there are lots of babies out there that need homes. Okay, they need a good mama, which you're gonna be, I'll bet you.
Yeah.
And you've had practice too on your little sisters, right? Even if that one is the little paddler or whatever it is. But
little terror.
Kimberly up an apple.
You what?
One time I cut it up, Kimberly apple.
You cut it up? Well, I've cut it.
Mommy,
I've cut it up of some stuff myself. Okay, but what, you know, how she just looks like any other pretty little girl to me.
She doesn't have the full-blown Turners, but she is you know, diagnosed with the Turners, with the disability. She does have thyroid. You could see, you know, the thyroid when she does lean back. You can see
a little Adam's apple.
Yeah.
So does Farrah Fawcett.
So, Dr. Ray noticed that right off when she'd seen her, and we couldn't figure out why she was 31 pounds for almost 2 years. 31, 32, she'd get sick. She was eating well, and it was her thyroid. And as soon as we transferred doctors and we went into Dr. Ray's office, she just leaned her back. And it was just big. I was like, oh my God! I just thought it might have been something serious, but it's gone down now. And we treat her with Synthroid, I believe it is. It's 5 milligrams.
So she's on a regimen for medication. Okay. Now, how tall do you think she might be?
She's
No,
I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
I'd have to
Well,
look it up. I don't
but
remember.
you think she
Okay.
if we project it, is she going to be very tall?
Oh, she'll be 4'11". They already said that she'll be 4'11" with the
Well, that's-
hormone growth shots.
Yeah,
she does get
that's not-
shots, 6
But
shots
you know,
a
I'm
week.
thinking my mother-in-law was like 4'10" or something.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of short people walking around, and
Right.
especially for a girl. Of course, you're not too big
Yeah, that's-
yourself.
yeah,
Mama.
I'm-
I was going to
yeah.
say you're not big and husky
Yeah,
and tall.
I'm 5'4", about 5'4".
Bubba, he is 6'3". He's a giant.
Is that your brother?
Yeah,
Well, be
that's
glad
my
he's the boy, okay? Because you wouldn't want a girl that was 6'3" and kind of
All
big,
right,
would you?
sorry to interrupt
No.
here. Stay tuned right here on these channels for more classics from Mike Hanson Archives. But I just want to take a moment to ask for your help to fund these channels. We are asking a $25 donation to buy my book. I wrote this book about Bohemia Grove, about when Alex Jones and I snuck into the Bohemia Grove Club, and it tells all about it. Tex Mars forwarded it. He just recently passed away, so it's becoming a real collector's item. Alex has his own chapter in this book, and it's very good, full of pictures and all sorts of things. You know, George W. Bush and his father was a member of the Bohemian Club, and Junior still is. But it's a really good, thick book, and we'd appreciate a $25 donation sent to. I will definitely sign it and send it right back to you. If you want to call us at 830-672-3089, that's my office. Just leave your name and phone number, and the secretary will call you back. And you can pay with a credit card. And if you want to write us, our address is 901 St. Joseph Street, Gonzales, Texas, 78629. Once again, send that $25 for this book right here, Bohemia Grove, Cult of Conspiracy. I wrote that book, forwarded it by Tex Mars. Alex Jones has a chapter in it, and a lot of other people. So we appreciate. Stay tuned to these local YouTube channels and Facebook and Instagram, and I'm on Twitter now too. So stay tuned for Mike Hanson Archives and all the classics. Most of these tapes are 25 years old or a little bit younger. Alrighty, thanks a lot and God bless. Please support us when you can, where you can. Here's the address one more time and the phone number, and we'll get right back to your viewing of these classics. Be sure to go to Mike Hanson Archives, Hanson Archives, and our new one, Waco Archives. Thanks a lot and God bless.
Yeah, it's
a pretty little girl.
Yeah, that's why we need to get the awareness out for Turner syndrome. Is because if we waited, and if she didn't have another sister, I would have never noticed this, and we would have never gone through and having her diagnosed and trying to find out what was wrong with her.
And helping her grow.
Yeah,
some.
so this will help her grow.
Okay, now this is everything. You can be a cheerleader. They throw you up in the air if you're little. So
Yeah.
I mean, it said some good stuff.
See if she was 13 and if she was diagnosed, she only had like 5 years to be able to get the growth hormone before her bones would be fused. Before they stopped growing.
In other words,
and everything.
And that's what we're trying to let people in on.
And to wear
You need
awareness.
What we got ants?
Oh,
okay.
yeah, we do got some ants over
Well,
here.
they're just everywhere, and they say, "Oh,
Are you
drink
okay?
water."
Got
Honey,
fire
she's
ants.
got ants in her toes.
Yeah. Better than their pants.
Well, yeah. Okay, here we go. You can tell she's kidding the mic. But what is the growth period that you need to administer this hormone?
Before her bones fuse, I believe it's like 18, or when the growth of you start getting to be an adult.
Okay, so when because a lot of kids are grown. I think Do what? Okay, and we're Barb Cook, and we're sitting here talking, and of course we've got Brittany here sitting on the rock. Doesn't she look like a calendar girl? She's sitting here posed. She looks so pretty in her. She looks like she's going to have afternoon tea. You've got on that smart tea dress. She looks so cute with the ribbons on it and the shoes to match. In other words, it's important that Turner syndrome be diagnosed so that you can get in on the growth pattern.
For the early awareness, yes. They do have an early awareness program that they are treating young children, but it's only for like birth to 3 years of age is the early awareness to, to go through all the systems
and of course,
and everything.
I guess that earlier the intervention, the better jump you're going to get on a situation.
That's correct.
But people with Turner syndrome, there's no reason. She's going to have a wonderful life.
Right.
And
she'll live to have a good life and everything. But I'm just so glad she was diagnosed. And that way, because if anything internally was wrong, we could have it, fixed.
But it wasn't.
That way it could be diagnosed. If she ever was in a car accident or anything, she had a horseshoe kidney, everybody be in trouble, and it just prevention.
Just good prevention.
And this way it helps her with her growth. I know I was not really wanting to do this. I started giving her shots when she was 2, and it was really hard for me, and I had to be counseled, and I was always scared of a needle. I never was the needle type, and I never wanted to be a nurse. I didn't want to do all that, and I was just against all of it.
Why can't you let me get the shot?
Do you want to give your own shot? Sometimes I always have to stick it in her, and then sometimes she'll push the end,
But think what good stuff's coming out of it. That's got because it's going to make you a tall girl, and your clothes will fit better.
Right, you're
so
right.
just
she wants
keep
to catch up
keep
to her
fun.
sister. She don't want to wear her sister's hand-me-downs. She wants her sister to wear her hand-me-downs.
Wear your hand-me-downs. That's right.
That's a big deal.
But
okay, this is Brittany's medicine, her protropin. She has to have 6 shots a week to help her grow, to keep everything growing in perspective and everything. And we have to mix it. We do mix it, and it's already been mixed and everything. We have to mix the water with the protropin. It comes in a dry substance, and we do have a larger needle for our mixing needle to pour into here. And then once it's mixed, we barely, shake it and let it dissolve with the water and everything. And we have an expiration date on here, and we just have to watch the expiration date, and we give her shots 6 days a week. We figure Monday through Saturday is a good time, and Sundays she gets off.
Okay.
And everything. And she's not too happy. She wants to wait till tonight. We usually give her shots at night, but we want to go ahead and give her a shot, and that way everybody will understand how she gets her shots and how a big girl she is.
Well, and Brittany, let me tell you something. With people, are you listening? You're just like every other little girl I've ever been around. If you're getting a shot on TV, and maybe some other children have to have shots, well, for this or for allergies, like I've had to give myself lots of allergy shots. I had a big German Shepherd once that had epilepsy, and I had to give him shots. And then when I was a teenager, my mother was just terribly sick. And I used to, give her shots, and I had to practice on an orange. Okay, that's the only way I could figure out to learn to do it. And so, I know that it's one of those things you just think, oh, I hate to have this, but I guess it's like everything else when you start to think about all the good stuff that's going to happen, and it just takes a minute a day. It's not long, is it, when you have a shot?
It's not long.
It's not long. That's right. And just think how good, just for one little time a day, for 6 days a week, and you get off on Sunday. She's just like every little girl I've ever been around.
Sometimes we give them to her at night. I go in there early in the morning, and I give it to her, and she won't even realize it,
Oh,
and
Mom, did you sneak up on her?
That's the best ones, isn't it? But we just started doing that because she's been getting to where, she's been doing it since she was 2, and she's fixing to be 8 in August. So she's been doing this for 6 years almost, and she's just.
Did you? But just think, that little bit of a needle, that's not much compared to all the good it's gonna do. So I just every time you have that, it's like when you get my age and you start to gain weight. I was always skinny when I was younger, like your mother, And when I start, to exercise, I think, oh, I can't do this. But then I start to think about how I look in the mirror, And I think, I can do this, okay? So it's sort of, you have to kind of trade off a little bit and get one thing for the other. Well, where do you get your shot? The arm?
Show them where you get your arms.
Or the leg.
Or the legs.
Mm-hmm. Do you kind of...
The belly. You know, it's like this area, the legs, the thighs, and then you can also give it to the belly. But we don't ever get in the belly. We have enough shot room here because after a while the elasticity in the skin right there gets tough, you know, and everything.
And now, what do you call this when you give a shot, Barbara, and you're not? It kind of puffs up, kind of goes like that because it gets in there and it thinks.
When it gets right underneath the skin,
it's
get into the muscle. It has to get into the muscle.
Is that subcutaneous? Is that the one? You see what a big doctor, nurse.
Yeah, well, I'm not too much of a nurse either. I never wanted to be a nurse, and
I didn't either. Okay, but you didn't know.
I don't like the blood.
But you see, well, that's true. But watching you though, when you're showing the medication and showing the needle and everything, and knowing how and knowing how difficult it is.
And I'll start doing it.
It's hands of a loving mother, because we know that this is what you have to do, and it's sometimes it's hard to be the mama.